Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today I'm in the middle of creating the brake system for our GT Performer. It's the bike series which I've been doing for a while now. We're coming up to the last few parts of the series. And I decided to make the cabling here, and I thought it would be a good idea to do a little video on making cables. If you're anything like me, I jumped into Blender for quite a few years ago, many years ago, and I kind of feel like sometimes I don't always have the base knowledge because I didn't sit down and watch all the basic tips and tricks. I basically started watching tutorials, following along with people, learning how other people do. Which also means then you learn a lot of shortcuts straight off the bat. But when you're creating things, for instance, all the tools on the left side here, I can honestly say I don't think I've ever touched any of these in the last 10 years. I don't even know if I would know how to use them. I use shortcuts, and the reason I wanted to take the cabling is because I created cables in a certain way for very many years, and then I saw somebody do it much quicker, much faster, and I thought to myself, I cannot believe I've never seen that this is a function. So we're going to take it now. So I'm going to show two different ways of making cables, or maybe even three, I guess. The first one I would take up is there are free add-ons to do this. I've had a look around. I think there was one called Cablerator, maybe. It's a paid add-on, and there's a few also free which use geometry nodes. So these are free add-ons which you can really fast create cables, but you know, we're not going close to any kind of paid add-ons here. We're just going to go old school. So the way that I always used to create cables, I will add a single vertices somewhere here. Go into edit mode, or maybe we already were. So here, let's just extrude something which might be a cable. So I always like to start with an actual mesh, because I think it's quite easier to control. You could instead, if you want to, and generally one way or another you'll have to end up with using a curve, but this I think is easier because there's a lot more control. So I create the curve or the mesh I want to have, and just for the sake of things being nice, I space out my vertices so they're even. I will then generally go in and create a subdivision surface just to get a smooth curve here. If you don't, when you add the next stage, you'll find your cable will be jutting off at angles because this curve dictates obviously where your cable is going to go. So if you add a subdivision surface here and then apply it, so now you have a nice smooth curve. I will then apply rotation and scale, set origin to geometry, and then cursor to selected. And this is important, we want the origin to be at the center point of this curve, and also the rotation and scale, because it will screw things up later, and it took me also a while to know this. This is the most important step always. Origin to geometry, and then cursor to selected. So once you've done that, you can go to your search bar, object, convert to curve. So now you can see we have our curve. I would then add we can say a cylinder, which is absolutely huge as always, and we take maybe down to 12 vertices. We don't want it too high. And now I will go into edit mode and scale it down. If you didn't go into edit mode, you will then find that your scaling is off here, and this everything here needs, your rotation, your scale also needs to be set here. So take away the face here. We do not need the faces because it's going to be a cable, so it needs to be open. If your cable piece is this long, you will find that there's not so much possibility for bending in here, because obviously the bending points will be where we've selected here and here at the bottom. So again, you will see it will be jagged. You could maybe get away with it if you had many loop cuts here. I think for my personal preference, the easiest solution is just to have just a little small piece here, and we will show you why. So now we want rotation scale set as we already have it. Now again, the important point here, you want to go to set origin to 3D cursor. Now this is setting our 3D cursor is at the origin of the curve. So we want origin to 3D cursor, and then we also want geometry to origin. So you can see, if I show here now, you can see essentially what we're doing is we're taking this cable piece and we're putting it at the exact same central point as the curve, which is going to help us in the next step where we will go to deform. Well, first we can go to array. We'll find our correct array first. On the cable piece here, generate array. So now we're at the incorrect array. We do not want, we want the Z. So this is what our array looks like. We're obviously just increase or decrease as we want it to. But first, collapse this, add, deform, curve. So the curve we want obviously is going to be this curve here. And as we can see, we need to change the axis it's deforming on. Now hopefully if we've done everything correctly, it will find, so there, it's on the Z axis. So now you can see we're at the perfect central point, and if we went back up to array, is now following along, and you can see it's hard to see here, you can see anyway that our points here is what is allowing the curve, essentially. If we can maybe try, just for the sake of tests, so now you can see it looks very much low resolution because we don't have any cuts in there. And now it works. So geometry is a huge issue, just to be aware of that. Okay, so thing to help you out also, array you want to have merge on, and you want this at a very low threshold. So that's essentially joining our geometry here, the array. So when we collapse it, they're all going to sit together. And then also the amount here, instead of sitting here and just jacking up this number, an easy way is you can set it also to the curve. So I think, no, that was the shaped line. I'm sure we used to have so this is the first way. For a very, very long time actually used to create all my curves this way. To smooth it out, you can go to auto smooth, smooth shaded, and even add a subdivision on the end of it. So now you have a very nice smooth curve. But this actually not the greatest way to do it. The way I saw to do it recently, and I cannot believe I didn't see this for many years, is once you have your curve, you do not need any extra object. What you can do, if you go down to the curve data here, and you can go down to the bevel depth, and you can actually quite simply just here adjust how big you want the cable, which is insanely easy. You can see, I mean, it's just a button, and it seems stupid just to point this out. I'm sure loads of people know this, and obviously I've known this now for a few years. But when you're starting out and you're following tutorials and you see other people do stuff, things like this can just get missed quite easily. And then you can obviously change the resolution here if you need to, and fill the caps. You can even have a start and end mapping here, which I'm not exactly sure what it is. And in addition to just having a simple curve, you can actually use different kind of profiles also here if you do want to change the shape, which is quite interesting if you really want to go crazy. This is also a pretty good way to, I guess you can create hair in this stylized hair in the same way. If you get in here and play around, and you can maybe taper the ends. So yeah, this is how you should do it if you can, if you want to. It will save you a lot of time, a lot of bother. The other way, I guess, is still valid in some way. It gives you a certain amount of control. I can't really think of so many use cases for doing it the other way anymore. Maybe it was the case that this geometry option was maybe not available in earlier builds of Blender, which is why maybe I got stuck doing things the other way. But I hope this has opened your eyes a little bit. Give me a comment if you have any other ways to create a cable and curving. This I find is the most speedy and effective method. So I'm going to continue making my brake system, and shortly I will be releasing that as one of the final videos to the GT Performer. I think the only thing we have left is maybe the grips. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother doing a rendering tutorial on that. I think I probably will go away and just retexture things, just get the colours I want, and just maybe throw up some turntables and some final renders. I'm not sure if anybody is following along with them. I guess they're going to be on YouTube for a long time, so maybe we'll see in the future people try their hand at it. Anyway, thanks for today, and I will see you next time.